Hello everyone, this is Dr. Aarti Mudliar, Assistant Professor from the Department of Commerce, and here I am with another topic, that is trial balance. In my previous video, I had explained you how to prepare ledger accounts. So if you have all watched that video, you must have understood that how do we get the balances in the ledger accounts. Now, what next after getting the balances of ledger? See, when you have prepared a lot of ledger accounts, that gives you the information of a specific account, that is of a specific nature. Now, once you have prepared the ledger accounts for the entire year, month by month, at the end of the year, you want to know the result. All right. But before getting the result, you must check yourself. So, trial balance is nothing but a checkpoint. It is a summarized form of all the ledger accounts, you can say, or you can say a list of all the accounts having their respective balances at the correct sites. Now, what do I mean by correct sites? While preparing trial balance also, we follow the double entry system of bookkeeping. Yes, the same system that we had followed while passing journal entries and also while posting them into ledger accounts. So while doing accounting, we follow the system of double entry system at each and every step. So here also we'll follow the same system. Okay, now you must be getting confused that how are we going to prepare the trial balance because it sounds so difficult. Not at all. It is going to be very, very easy because I'm going to tell you a very short trick to prepare your trial balance, and that will give you an error-free trial balance always. Right? So note it down, the golden rule for preparing trial balance. Number one is all the assets and expenses are debited. Okay, I repeat, all the expenses and assets are debited while the liability, capital and revenues are credited. So that is it. We are following the same double entry system rules at the time of preparing trial balance also. Fine. So that is why we have a question in front of us so that you can understand it well. Alright, so I'll read the question for you. From the following ledger balances, prepare a trial balance as on 31st March 2023 of Mr. A, which says that it has different accounts as you can see: advertisement, bank overdraft, capital, carriage, cash in hand, discount credit and discount debit. Now this is very easy to understand. Discount credit means the discount received. Why? Because it has a credit balance, and as I said that all revenues have a credit balance. Similarly, discount debit, the names could be same, but whether it is a debit balance or a credit balance, you can easily identify by that. If it is discount debited, that means it is an expense, that is discount that has been allowed to the customers. Now, electricity charges, furniture, general expenses, goodwill, land and building, opening stock, patents, plant and machinery, printing and stationery, purchases, rent, salary, sales, sundry creditors, sundry debtors and trade expenses. So as you must have seen, these are nothing but list of accounts with their respective balances in front of us, which has been arranged alphabetically. So these are the balances of a particular business from which we need to prepare a trial balance. So let us see how do we prepare trial balance. I'll give you the format first of all. So here goes the format. First of all, we'll write trial balance as on 31st March of 2023, because the data has been provided to us as on 31st March 2023. Fine. Then the first thing we will write the serial number, that is the number of accounts that we have in hand. Then list of accounts or names of accounts, as you may please. After which we need to write the amounts. Now which amounts are we going to write? The debit amount as well as credit amount. So here I will write debit amount and then we would put the credit amounts. Okay, and we draw a format for it. That is it, so easy. Now the even easier method is the preparation. So here we have the format ready in front of us. What we do next is simply copy down all the names of the accounts in the names of the accounts column. Here we go. All right. And for your convenience, see, it is not the part of format, but for your convenience, I am adding one more column just for your understanding. Here I have inserted a column through which we can understand well that how are we going to prepare. So here comes my trick. Okay, this is a very easy trick to prepare the trial balance, and that is I am writing within brackets, that is all the assets and all the expenses will be written in the debit column. Okay, here it is. Fine. All the assets and expenses will be written in the debit column, whereas all the liabilities, capital and revenues will be written in the credit column. Okay. So we have the trick over here. Now what will I do? I'll simply sort the nature of all the accounts just now in front of you, and will put the respective amounts in the correct columns. So fine, let's go. Advertisement. What is advertisement? It is an expense. I am using just the initial to sort it up. Okay. So that makes A for assets, L for liabilities, C for capital, R for revenues and E for all the expenses. Thus, advertisement is an expense, and that is why I have written here E. Bank overdraft is a liability. Capital is capital, of course. Carriage again is an expense. Now don't worry whether it is a direct expense or an indirect expense, whatever be the nature of expense, it has to be understood as an expense and treated in the same manner. Cash in hand is an asset. Discount credit is a revenue. Discount debit is an expense. Electricity charges is also an expense. Furniture is asset. General expenses are expenses. Goodwill again is an asset, though it is an intangible asset, but of course it's an asset. Land and building also is an asset. Opening stock is also an asset. Patents are also asset. Plant and machinery also an asset. Printing and stationery is an expense. Similarly, purchases are also expense. Rent is also expense. Salary, sales is a revenue. All right. Creditors is a liability. Debtors are assets. And trade expenses are expenses again. Right? Sorted. Now, once we have the sorting in front of us, the next step would be writing the correct amounts. So, I will pick the amounts from the previous page, that is where our question is, so that we can write it in the correct place. Okay. So, here comes the amounts. There we are. Here comes the amounts of each of the respective account name in front of us, right? There we have. All right. So, as we all know that since advertisement is an expense, thus its amount will be recorded in the debit side. Why? Because all the expenses are debited. So, here I am putting the expense amount in the debit column. Similarly, bank overdraft is a liability and all liabilities have a credit balance. Therefore, I will take the amount to the credit side. That is it. All the liabilities, as I said, are to be credited. Fine. So, this amount has to be taken in the credit side. The same rule applies for the capital also. Capital will always have a credit balance. All right. Yes, in certain circumstances, it may have a debit balance, but that is a negative amount of a capital, which may show the losses or high drawings. Okay, now here is a carriage expense which is to be recorded. Come on, tell me. Yes, debit side. Then comes your asset, cash in hand, which is to be debited. Here we go. Revenues are Yes, look at here in the credit column. So, there it goes to the credit column. Okay. Expense back to debit column. This expense also goes to the debit column. And here we have the asset. So, all the asset and expenses are to be debited, right. So, here we have one expense again, an asset. Okay. So, we have a lot of assets over here. So, I will just pick, and the expenses following it all goes together in the debit column only. One revenue and the liability, creditors, liability towards creditors, this goes to the credit side, and an asset and an expense once again. Yes. So, now I remove this short trick so that you can check the correct way of presentation, right. That is it. We simply need to write the currency. Since we are in India, we follow Indian INR. So, we can put currency here, right. So, now you have all the columns set in front of you. I will do the numbering now. Perfect. So, we have in all 23 accounts in front of us and the respective amounts inserted. Now, what is this particular column? This column is nothing but a ledger folio indicating the page number or the folio number from where these balances have been posted or recorded in the trial balance. So, just for a reference, we put here the ledger folio. Okay. Now, each of the balance of ledger accounts has been posted as per the rule to the correct sides, right, as you can see over here. But since we are here to find out the arithmetical accuracy after preparing the trial balance, that is, whatever posting or journal entry we have passed and the correct posting has been done in the ledger accounts, whether there has been any mathematical error while posting it, any error whatsoever can be found by the trial balance. No, no, no. All the errors cannot be found by preparing trial balance. There is a limitation while preparing the trial balance. Yes, there are certain errors which are not traceable. Any clerical errors, of course, can be traced by preparing trial balance, that is the debit and the credit side total. If matches, that means it is accurate. All the recording has been done accurately. But if it is not accurate, the balances will never match. There will always be a difference either in the debit side or in the credit side, and this difference is turned into a suspense account, right. We open a suspense account and we put such a balance in that account, and then we go for identifying different errors and try to rectify each of these errors, right. So, this is how a check procedure is to be followed by preparing the trial balance. Now, you must be wondering what are the errors that are not detected by even preparing trial balance. There are certain errors like complete omission. Fine. Complete omission means if you have forgot or omitted to pass a journal entry itself. Now, that did not affect the debit side or the credit side together. Therefore, such type of errors can never be found by preparing trial balance. Right. So, that is one of the limitation of trial balance. Same goes with error of principles. Now, error of principles occur because of lack of knowledge of accounting rules or principles, right. Like treating a revenue expenditure as a capital expenditure, or maybe reverse, treating a capital expenditure as a revenue expenditure. In such a case, one account will be debited and another account will be credited, but you can never trace the error. Right, the name of accounts can be switched. Say for example, the wages paid for installation of a machinery. Fine, a machine has to be installed in a factory site, and for that certain wages has been paid. Now, this is a capital expenditure which should be debited to machinery account. But because of lack of knowledge, suppose if the accountant has posted it to wages account, there is a mistake. One account which was debited, which was to be debited, was machinery. Instead of that, he has debited wages account, but a debit with the same figure has been done. Since a same amount has been debited and a similar amount has been credited, you won't be able to trace the error. Fine. Similarly, there is one more error that is called compensating error. That is, if we have short posted some amount in the debit side, say for example with 500 rupees. An amount or an account was to be debited, say for example with 5500, whether instead of 5500 you have posted it at 5000. So you have recorded it short by 500 rupees. And in some other posting you have credited 500 short. So this is called an error of compensation. One error has been compensated by another error. So again trial balance fails. You won't be able to trace the error because your trial balance will always give a correct total. Fine. So let's check how the totals are derived and how the trial balance will match. So I am just putting a formula of summation at the end of this trial balance, that is here. So as we can see that the debit total is 3,97,150, and as soon as I copy the same formula to the credit side, let's check. Yes, we have the same total at both the sides. So bingo, we have prepared the correct trial balance. Now you can try on your own. Take a big question just like this. Apply the rule, the golden rule that I have taught. That is, all the assets and expenses are to be debited. All the liabilities, capital and revenues are to be credited. So you can apply the correct rule only, yes, only and only when you are able to identify the correct nature of accounts. Okay. So for identifying the correct nature of account, you need to watch my previous videos of double entry system of bookkeeping, right? So the entire accounting, I hope you all are enjoying well. Bye bye.